Morning, everyone. What is it today? Tuesday. I've forgotten where we are. We're day 22 anyway, out of 30 days, slowly creeping towards our finish line where we're going to do a re-evaluation process again at the end. For those of you that have joined me since day one, then you would have done, hopefully, morning baby, a evaluation process. That should be labelled. It is labelled. So if you want to go back and check that out, run through that. It's only a process that takes you a few minutes, so you can do that. Run through the lives that I've done over the last 21 days and do a catch-up. Today's meet and greet, I suppose, it's not really a top tip, it's more of a meet and greet because it's time to introduce you to your thalamus. The thalamus is like a walnut-shaped and sized piece that sits within the center of the brain. Well, it's interesting when we say, it's a piece, right? Because it's definitely a region of the brain. We talk about it in that terms, but they're not all single sections that sort of just butt up together like this. You can't clearly go in and define and then, pull out the thalamus. So it is this part that sits deep within the center of the brain. It is, and I talk about this often, as far as when I jump on lives, I often say, this is a part that comes up quite often in body talk sessions, and it's true, but this part, the thalamus, I would say it factors into nearly every single body talk session I do. That's how big of a deal it is. So we can address it from a perspective of addressing just specific functions that it deals in from a left hemisphere point of view and a right hemisphere point of view, very much like when we're focusing on tapping out our cortices, is that we're focusing on the communication that runs between both left and right hemispheres of the brain. That's another thing that comes up as being very important for the thalamus, because it's one of the things that's often missing or lacking within a person is this beautiful communication that runs between both left and right hemispheres of the thalamus. So that's one factor that we're going to be thinking about today and putting our attention to when we tap out our cortices. The other things to know about the thalamus is it's a massive, great big routing station. I mean, its job is just phenomenal. So it deals with pretty much all sensory processing data that comes in that needs to be interpreted, and then something needs to be done with that information, except smell. Smell gets interpreted and goes in a slightly different path. The thalamus also has a lot to do with your brain wave rhythms and the state of alertness. It plays a big role when you go into different states of let's say mindfulness, manifestation, if you're doing any type of visualization processes, stuff like that. So if this part of the brain is really under pressure, if it's not working properly, if it has a lack of circulation, if there are any type of blockages, whether they be physical, emotional, psychological, so mental blockages, then this is going to play a very large role in it for sure. When we tap out our cortices today, I really want you to think about the thalamus and draw your attention to it quite deeply. In fact, there's nothing stopping you from doing that tomorrow and the next day and the next day, right? The more you just understand these pieces that sit within here that form the whole brain, then the better the outcome for you is going to be. Rightio, so I don't think I want to give you any more information than that. I mean, the thalamus, you could make that a specialty and study it for the rest of your life and you would still never get to know it. There's a lot of information around it. And what I might do at a later time is come back and talk about it a little bit more, but it's all about processing sensory information, right? And I don't want to give you so much information that you struggle to be able to integrate that and understand it. So I'll keep it the way it is for today, and we'll just go ahead and tap out our cortices. Our attention is on the whole brain. Our intention is that we are improving circulation and communication, not only between both hemispheres of the brain, but the whole brain. And remember, when that happens and when we do that, then it improves communication and circulation between this brain and the heart brain and the gut brain, this brain, and then the rest of your body. Today, our focus is going to go a little bit deeper, and we're going to focus on that part of the brain that we've just talked about called the thalamus, right? So if you want to bring that up as a Google image or something like that, then go for it if it gives you a visual perspective and you're that way inclined to learn. Let's go ahead and tap out our cortices. Remember, if you ever have any questions, just pop them into the comments box. Nice big deep breaths, guys. Second hand position. Third. Remember, we're tapping over gut brain as well now. So if you're joining in new for the first time, then we're associating the gut brain or the enteric brain, focusing on the small intestine. And we're going to tap about an inch above the belly button for that. All the way around to the front of the brain. Let's finish off with the temporal lobes, fingers close together, hands run from front to back. Nice soft hands. Beautiful. Take one hand away, or both hands away, whatever works for you, and tap it in. Cool. If you have any extra questions about the thalamus, any extra questions about cortices, if you have any feedback, once again, thanks everybody for the feedback that you have given when you've been going along and making these observations about yourself and the subtle changes that happen to you on a day-to-day basis. And also there are a lot of people out there recognizing the synchronicities of things, you know, like I notice that whenever I do cortices, that this happens to me after, or making connections with things that are happening in their life and how it's traveling along better or working out smoother for them. So recognizing the synchronicities and making the connections is also very, very important. Beautiful. I've got a big day to plan for. I'm sure you have got something else to move into now, whether it's the start of your day or a really nice evening. So thanks for joining me, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.